This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Wednesday, April 24th, 2019, episode 223. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special Wednesday edition of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. And of course, visit our website. It is infectionpodcast.com. Joining me from the great are you considered the Midwest or the Southwest?
No, we are the Northwest.
I'm sorry. Yes, of course. The North. So where's that cutoff line between Midwest and Northwest?
So I think it's just east of Montana.
Okay.
So just east of Montana, kind of from there over, you get into the Midwest.
But you're not the Pacific Northwest like Seattle.
No, we would just be Northwest, and then that would be Pacific Northwest. I'm not sure exactly where we're at. I don't know what our designation would be. Like, they have Pacific. I don't know what we would be. We're just Boise.
All right. My name is Nick Craig. You'll follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. And joining me from the Northwest of the country, Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing great. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. And make sure you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, where we have on there the links to all of our show notes, everything that we've done in the past now 222. This will be the 23rd episode.
Yes, sir.
We also have a link to our Discord if you want to get our news channel, if you want to submit news topics throughout the week, if you want to just chat, hang out. Also, we have our Steam group where you can get notifications before the live show starts, and a link to our YouTube channel and Twitch, and then all the audio forms. So whatever device you happen to be using, you can go on there, click the link, and it should have a customized link. And as Nick uses, you can even get an email every time we put out a new episode if you want to go and view it live, or on our website and just watch the video straight from there.
Absolutely. I do want to thank everybody that took some time to fill out the feedback form. I closed that up right before the show today. So thanks everybody that filled that out, and we're going to scrub through all the data. A couple of people left some comments, which we appreciate. And I think, Brian, we've got a much better idea now of what we need to cover on, or at least what we need to prioritize now on each week's show. So thanks everybody that filled that out. And 2 years from now, we'll do another one. I think we've done two so far. So within the next 2 years, we'll have another one coming for you. So if you missed out on it, stay tuned. Eventually we'll do another one.
You can always email us or send us a message saying, hey, would you cover this? We do have people that do that. Hey, could you cover this game for us?
Yes, and that's not a problem. If you want to send us any information, you can do it. If you want to send it to Brian and myself, the easiest way for both of us is to send us an email. It's we have a contact form on our website, or contact@infectionpodcast.com. That goes to an inbox that Brian and I both see. If you've got a game that you want us to check out, you can also tweet us. We both check that. And then if it's something that's important to one of us or the other, Discord is probably the best way to reach out. So, all right. What else, Brian? What did you have a good holiday weekend?
Yeah, spent some time with family, and
Excellent.
It was uneventful, which is the best kind of holidays.
Excellent. Well, glad to hear that.
No disasters.
No disasters.
And Nick, of course, you were the reason that we're having a Wednesday show is because you were out of town, flew in last night, and so that went well. You made it in one piece.
I took that Boeing Max 800 or whatever it's called. Was hoping I'd maybe get on one of those and see if we pull up the entire flight so don't plummet into the earth.
Yeah, I heard they did a software patch, so you should be good.
Yeah, it's a glitch. So they've solved that. But yeah, it was a good time, and nice to get away for a couple of days. So last week the game of the week was Rocket League, and I'm not apologizing, but I brought my Switch like you recommended so I could play Rocket League, and I, for the life of me, could not get the combo jack on my laptop to work with the headset that has a microphone attached to it. I spent over 2.5 hours on Sunday installing drivers and different Realtek applications, and I even missed my regular Sunday morning computer talk show because I could not get these damn headphones to work, and it wasn't the headphones, it was a driver.
Yeah.
So
I love Windows 10.
I did a factory restore and didn't install any of Asus's utilities, so it was technically my fault. But so I'm pseudo sorry. I was there, I had it, I was ready to go, but I couldn't talk, and I was like, well, kind of defeats the whole purpose. So how did Rocket League go?
It went well. So we just had a group that we queued through a number of games. We probably had a little over a 50% win average.
Oh, okay.
Did pretty well. So we had Green Man and his brother, and then Laura and I, and we just a 4-man team.
Excellent.
And we sat there and just queued up and played a bunch of games. So it went well.
Well, coming up this week is a game that I really enjoy, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for. It is Overwatch, which we haven't played in quite some time. So depending on the amount of people that show up, we'll do either some pub stomping, or if we get enough, we could do some private matches and really rage. So hopefully you'll join us for that. That will be Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, in our Discord. All the links, all the information is on our website. It is infectionpodcast.com, where you can find out all of that. Now, and Brian, there is actually a Humble Bundle out now that is of, I think, of interest to some subsection of our community, and that is they're calling it the More Board Games Bundle, and it has 13 days left on it from the time of recording this show. And there's a couple of good games on here. Pandemic is an awesome game.
It's one of my wife's favorite games.
I love Pandemic. Seethe is on here. It is another very, very cool game. And all of it is to support Make-A-Wish, funny enough. So you can go ahead and head on over to the show notes for this episode 233 of Infection, and click our link. It helps support the program. It'll fund our it'll fund our trip out to Seattle, Washington in end of August, Labor Day weekend. And all these games are redeemable on Steam, and most of them are cross-platform, Windows or Mac. So check it out and help support the show.
Very good. And there was one other thing I wanted to mention here. Yes, and Judd he's in chat right now, but he's been a part of the podcast as far as a fan for a while. He created a giveaway for a software product called Gaia. And this, if you're into game development, this is a very recent, something they just came out with in the past year and a half, that does landscape. So if you're creating landscapes and things for games. And so we have 6 days left on it, and it actually has some different ways that you can enter. And if you see, there's follow Infection on Twitch. There's something having to do with my YouTube channel. There's a number of steps that you can do to be able to, or actually to join my Discord. The quad spinner, each of these give you votes, so however many entries into the giveaway. And this is in coordination with Gaia, the the company that makes this. And they gave us a copy of the indie license. And so Judd put this together for us to do. So thank you very much for putting that together. And so if you're interested, Gaia is, for people, if they've heard of the word, the name of the product, World Machine. World Machine is pretty much the standard that most companies have been using up until recently. The H1Z1 map was made in World Machine. But it's a very old, outdated product. And this one is much more modern. It has some awesome capabilities just to be able to make whatever kind of landscape that you want. And so definitely I have a license of this that I have, and it works really well.
I'm trying to post links in chat, and they don't seem to be posting. I don't know if Twitch has got a problem with their hyperlinker, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But yeah, I guess you can post them. They just disappear. I don't know. Maybe I've been banned from our TOS violation.
I wonder if it's the bot is thinking. I don't know why it would do. It shouldn't do for you though. No. That's kind of weird. So Brian, you could post that Humble Bundle link as well. That would be fantastic. I do also want to thank a couple of people for some Twitch subscriptions here. I want to thank Unicorn Joe,
coming in with a 15-month resubscription, Green Man with the 15-month resubscription, and Saul Greatman, all with the 15-month resubscription. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it. And as with everything else, it'll pay for some Ubers out in Seattle to get us back and forth from the convention center and help us get out there. So we really do appreciate it. Thanks to everybody that helps support the program. All right, enough late night cable beg show. Let's we got a lot of news to get into, Brian.
All right.
Let's start. You want to do our big topic now, or you want to do that in the middle of the show?
We can hold off on that a little bit. That's fine.
All right.
So,
then let's talk about something relevant in terms of timing that just came out. We talked about this last week. This game that is zombie game that it was an exclusive to Epic's store, which of course has been a whole bunch of controversy about. World War Z. We talked about it last week. We showed the trailer, and I think in general the whole the whole opinion of people seemed to, everybody I talked to was kind of lackluster. Like, okay, it's kind of like Left 4 Dead. It's kind of like Dead Rising. It's kind of like a couple of other games.
Well, and they gave me a key for this.
How did you get a license for this?
I have my ways.
Oh my God. How did you, did Epic give you a license?
Epic gave me a license. Yeah.
Why did they give you a license?
Because they like me. No, I don't know.
No. How did you, did you use the infection?
They emailed me and said, hey, we're giving you a free.
You used the Infection Podcast name to get yourself a free license, you scumbag. I can see right through this. Well, did you play it at least?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so go ahead.
I played it in anticipation for the show.
Screw you, Brian. Go ahead. Talk about your stupid free games, you freeloader.
So I did play this. I played it in solo mode because I just wanted to see how it worked without having to deal with people yet. And I think it would be more fun. I do need to go in and play it, but it'd be more fun to play it with people I know, because it is very much that Left 4 Dead type of a vibe, which is a lot of fun when you're in a group and you're talking and all using voice chat and doing that. There are some aspects that are incredibly like Left 4 Dead, and just the way that the shooting of the zombies, the way that they're kind of a one-shot kill, and the way that you interact with things and move around. But the one thing that I will say that is not as good as Left 4 Dead, and you got to think the technology of Left 4 Dead, I mean, that's a fairly old game in comparison.
2008 the first one came out, or something like 2007.
Yeah, something like that. And it feels more glitchy as far as just the way that they are moving. Now they're trying to fit a lot more zombies. Now you did have some times where there were a lot of zombies. And so like in this scene, you can see they're moving around, and with that many zombies, you had probably a similar amount in Left 4 Dead. You'd have it to where that many were coming, and you wouldn't expect any kind of a glitch or hitching, but they did. Now this has the capability of doing many more zombies. So you'd see some scenes where zombies are just pouring down the street, or, you know, there's what seems like 100 zombies all at once that you're shooting at. And I don't think you would have been able to pull that off in the Left 4 Dead engine. So they have been able to move it forward.
Do you know how the servers work? Is it peer-to-peer, or is there a dedicated server? Or is it not obvious?
I'm not sure. Since I played it local, I'm not sure. So okay. I haven't tried that yet, and I could try that this week and just see if it feels like. I would assume they're probably doing a peer-to-peer,
yeah, just
because of the manner of this game. But, you know, that can be an issue, as you've seen with Dead by Daylight, where you have weird issues depending on the host. I mean, if you get a bad host, then your game's just going to be glitching all over the place. And I could see where maybe some people's reports of glitch. But the thing is, I got it in the local mode.
Oh,
where it just wasn't 100% smooth. So it's not exactly a host issue. But it was, I mean, it wasn't a bad game. The one thing I was concerned about going into this, just seeing other people play it, was it not. One thing I feel in Left 4 Dead is the game is kind of pushing you forward through the levels. Like, it's progressing you. There's no point in staying in one place and just standing there. I felt like this did the same thing. It pushes you through the level. There's an objective. I did the first chapter, and I did it probably in 45 minutes, maybe less. I don't remember. but I think there's only 4 chapters total. So that kind of gives you an idea of the total length of the game. A lot of people are saying, in 4 hours they complete the game, which I think is a problem. There's only so much repeating of levels that you're going to want to do. And so I think that they'll have to come out with more content. I think that if this is the initial stages and they're going to continue releasing content, that's fine. But I think that if this is considered the final game, that's where you'll run into an issue.
I think a game like Left 4 Dead is, I'm going to use the word iconic to describe it. And they can get away with only having a few stages. And they do have plenty of levels in the game, but I mean, you can replay every time we play Left 4 Dead, we play the same area, and it's funny because that's never a complaint, right? I never hear people complain, "Oh, it's the same damn thing." There's something that when a game ascends into this, this level of players, or just the gameplay is so good that people just will play the same thing over and over again.
But I also don't think they're forcing you into very many cutscenes. I mean, I think there's a few kind of pieces to that they've done that make that seem natural. Is they don't force you into, there maybe is a slight cutscene at the beginning of going into a whole level, but there's not cutscenes in the middle that are pausing your gameplay. And so I think that that's one thing that here, there's a few things where it says, all right, now do this, or it doesn't just let you run around and mindlessly kill zombies. You're actually having to accomplish some things. And so we'll see how that replay works. For instance, you can see on the screen now, they're in a similar level. Looks like the mall. They had a similar level in Left 4 Dead that you went into, but you can see there's just a lot of zombies. When you kind of work your way around in this atrium, you then have a place where you're able to shoot. These zombies are trying to climb up that wall. You can actually stand on the other side. One thing I didn't realize right away, there's actually a rocket launcher over there in the corner, or like a grenade launcher. And so you're supposed to, most people don't realize it, but those are the little things that I guess the more you play it, you start to pick up on this, and you could just be launching grenades from the grenade launcher into that horde. And so you can see a lot more. There's a lot of zombies compared to Left 4 Dead.
That's a Left 4 Dead mechanic. The screen, some type of boomer or some type of zombie.
I mean, so they have the same thing. There's the you can see the one that has the body armor on. It kind of works like the tank. It'll come up and it'll tackle you and knock you down.
Is there a jockey?
Then they have one. I haven't seen the jockey yet, not in the first level. And I know in Left 4 Dead, some things I think they kind of didn't show you till after chapter 1, if I remember correctly. You didn't see all the zombies right away. And so maybe that's what they did with this. But I haven't seen a jockey that actually jumps on your back.
So they sold 1 million copies in the first week, according to Saber Interactive, the team publishing it. And the CEO of Saber Interactive said, "We are humbled and thrilled by the immense success so far of World War Z, especially on PC, thanks to the tremendous support of the Epic Games Store. Moving forward, we'll continue to expand the game and its community with new improvements, stability updates, and bonus gameplay content beginning very soon with a special new mission for the Tokyo episode." Now, 1 million copies is a lot. But as you said, Brian, what was your issue? You didn't have anybody to play with.
Yeah, the thing is, I'd have to play with randoms, and I always avoid playing with randoms in games,
well, especially in a game like this.
I just don't get as much enjoyment out of it if everybody's not on the same page. I mean, that's the thing, is I don't go to randoms in Left 4 Dead because it's just never a pleasant experience. But I have a great time when we're playing Left 4 Dead together, because everybody's on the same page. You don't have people that are just being stupid and running off and doing whatever they want to do. So I think this would be the exact same way, but at $35, that is an issue for me, because people own Left 4 Dead because they've gotten it at a decent price over time. And I think that here, if this drops to about half the price,
$20.
Yeah, I think if they could get about half the price to the $20 range, I think at that point it would be like, hey, let's pick it up and let's play together. But it's hard to convince somebody at $40 to really commit when there's only 4 chapters. So I think if you could get it to where, put it on sale, they're going to have to. I mean, they've got their initial set of sales. If not a ton of people, it's hard to judge if people are really playing it, because most people judge whether or not a game is being played based on streamers, which
They had a
that's
problem
not
with.
100%. That's not 100% an indicator.
It's
right?
not, but I will say this though, in defense of that, in this case where it is on the Epic Game Store and Epic doesn't have a service like Steam, there's no API service like Steam Spy for the Epic Game Launcher to really peer in, and same thing with Xbox and PlayStation. Unfortunately, Brian, the only real metric you do have is streaming. And frankly, this million copies sold is across PlayStation, or I don't think it's on PlayStation. I think it's only Xbox and PC. Maybe it's all three, but it's across console and PC. And without any numbers, I mean, that's why this article that's here says that it dropped. Its viewership is down 80% in 48 hours from the launch of the game. It peaked at, I think they said 130,000 viewers, 133,000 viewers. But as I went to Twitch before this show, it had less than 3,000 people watch, or it had 3,100 or 2,900 or something like that. People, there was 3 times the amount of people watching ASMR streamers than there were this new game that's got 1 million copies sold. So,
well, and part of the issue is this style of game it's just not something that's, I mean, it's fun to play, right? But it's not super enjoyable to watch. And if you don't have a total variety streamer that's really entertaining, regardless of what game they're playing, because you could have Dr. Disrespect, for instance, play this, and I'm sure people would still watch because they're entertained by him, not by the game itself.
Yeah.
You don't see a ton of people going and saying, hey, I want to watch streamers playing Left 4 Dead. It's not that style of a game. It's more for the enjoyment, the mindless killing of zombies and kind of the casual nature of it. That's enjoyable for the player, not for people watching. Where if in contrast, you can take a look at one of these BR games, and part of what people get enjoyment out of those is seeing kind of crazy fights between people and ridiculous shots and whatever action is happening. That's what people enjoy about that type of game. This is not going to have that, because most of these zombies are one-shot kill. You're not seeing a real huge amount of skill in this game for someone to show off on a stream. It's just not that style. And maybe if they create various modes and make it actually really difficult, but the thing is, people have to understand how difficult it really is. If people don't have a concept of it, like when you go and see people do speed runs and various things like that on Twitch, it's because other people play that game and they realize how hard it is and how what that person is doing is actually difficult. I don't know what you're going to do in this game to really show someone that you're really good at it, other than you're just mowing down zombies a little bit better. I mean, it's not noticeable. So it's hard for a streamer, I think, to really build anything on this style of a game.
I'm trying to, you know what somebody needs to make? A service that tells you how much games originally MSRP'd for. I'm trying to figure out how much Left 4 Dead 2 was when it first came out. And it had to have been either $40 or $60 is what I can assume. I can't find the price. It's not on the Wikipedia page or Steam Spy or anything. But that $35 price point for a game, essentially a multiplayer game with, at this point, based on what you've said, limited replay ability is going to be a problem.
Yep.
I mean, you can sell 1 million copies, but
we'll have to see.
But a game like this, Left 4 Dead 2 has been out for 9 years, and there's still people playing. Now, it's nowhere near what was playing it 9 years ago. I understand.
Yeah.
But how many multiplayer games from 9 years ago are people still playing?
I don't know.
Not many.
Minecraft.
But that's but that's the thing, is how many, like, honestly, how many multiplayer games, or you're talking about midway through the Xbox 360 life cycle, how many people were playing which of those games that existed on that time frame are people still playing today? There's not many. So
yeah, I mean, there may be a few here and there that are kind of
games like Left 4 Dead and stuff. But in general, 1 million copies and all is great. But if you see your player count plummet after the first 2 or 3 weeks,
yeah,
we're on to the next thing already. And let's not forget this, Brian. This is on the Epic Game Store, which a whole bunch of people are they're not boycotting it because that's a strong word to use, but they are less like, they will wait because this game will come out on Steam. They are going to be less, they are less likely to buy it on the Epic Game Store because they don't have their friends list on there. They don't have their, if they use a Steam community, they don't have that on there. So it's kind of like the game is getting hit from a couple different angles. And I mean, they seem to be happy with the million copies sold. So, I mean, maybe my analysis here isn't accurate.
If they turn to profit, I mean, the thing is, if they turn to profit, then I'm sure they're going to continue, if they feel like it's worth it, adding to the game. Or one thing that maybe people are waiting for is Epic is going to be releasing some of those, the tools like Steam has as far as multiplayer and some of the additional features. If you look at, I think it's less than 6 months from now, but mid-year, Epic is going to be releasing their API features to allow cross-platform voice chat and grouping and everything else. If they can really sell that, then people will be able to create a friends list and have something that is truly cross-platform that Steam doesn't offer you currently, right? If they can get a lot of people using, because you don't have to be using the Epic Store to be able to use that feature. So it gives you voice support and all these extra features, regardless of what platform you're on. So if they can get enough developers to use that API, that may be a way that they can kind of eat away at that Steam grip that it has on the grouping system, as far as, hey, all my friends are here.
Yeah.
And then,
it's a huge deal.
And then it's not reliant on the fact that you own the game in the Epic Store. That's not the point. They can create a grouping system that is separate from all of that, that if it works really well, people won't care. If they have a universal friends list, I think that's how they get past this whole, I guess, hatred of that some people have for the Epic Store.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a hill for them a mound of zombies for them to climb. Hugh.
Yes.
So there it is. It is World War Z. Brian got a free copy. I didn't, and it is available for $35 for everybody besides Brian, who's privileged and gets free games on the hard work on the back, on my back. That's carrying all the weight here of the show, Brian. So check it out. It's on the Epic Game Store if you're interested, and if we're wrong, if you've got a different opinion on it, please let us know. Speaking of us being wrong, Brian, we did get a comment on our most recent YouTube video from our friend Judd talking about the Division 2, and I want to actually read his comment here if I can pull it up. I don't know. I thought I saved it somewhere, but he said, I would actually have to disagree about the Division 2. The beta is a poor example of what the game has actually been like. The only downside is the fact that the Dark Zone does not allow as many players as the first one allowed. There are a few other things that are not really game breaking, but could be adjusted, some gear talents. So in his estimation, the dumpster fire that the beta was, the beta was brutal, is not how the actual game. But unfortunately, in this era of allowing the public to allowing the public to make their first impression on betas, alphas, early accesses, whatever you want to call them, it's now in stone. It's written in the Bible, Brian. This game sucks because of the beta. Even though
I think they would have been better off not having an open beta like that. Personally, I think they really shot themselves in the foot because the experience was just lackluster. I mean, it's not like it was horrible. I mean, it was very lackluster as far as there were just a lot of issues. You could tell stuff wasn't done. And that just made me nervous that it was only a couple of weeks from release.
Yeah.
And maybe they put out an early build, but I don't know why you would do a beta on an old build, because you're really testing in the beta to make sure that everything works in the build you're getting ready to release. And so that's what I don't really understand why or how they have made such a difference in a couple of weeks to the game. Like I mean, there must have been something to where they weren't using the most up-to-date code for that beta. Maybe they were just testing servers or something, but the experience that I had was just like, I've enjoyed the first one so much more than I did the beta of the second one, but most of that story was missing. So I'm still on the fence. Like, I'm not 100% no, I'm not going to get it, but it's not like when the first one came out when I was like, oh, I want to play this.
Oh, I was the same way.
I was amped about it.
You had everybody all hyped up on the Division, right? When it first, and the whole concept of it was very, very cool.
Yeah. The graphics are beautiful. You got to think of the time. Like when that came out, there weren't very many games that really took you through a world like that had that much detail.
Yes, it was
I mean, since we've had Red Dead Redemption 2 and there are other games, but ever since Grand Theft Auto, there wasn't really one where you could just see the stuff happening in the street and just, it was just a real world to you.
It was very GTA, Red Dead, Fallout-y in terms of just you'd be walking by the house and you could just hear people fighting inside or glass breaking or whatever. And you could never interact with it, but it was just things going on in the world. And that was that couldn't have come out but 3 years ago, right? 2 years ago? I don't remember when the first one came out. So yeah, there you go. The Division 2. And again, if you've got a different opinion on a game that we've discussed, or even the same opinion, leave us a comment on YouTube, send us a tweet, email, Discord message, whatever it may be. Get it to us. We'd love to hear your feedback on that. And I don't know if you're on the fence. Maybe Judd's comment there is enough to put you over. So
and I've been watching live streams of people playing it, and they seem to be having fun. And so that's why I've been considering it. Like, should I get it on PS4? I was trying to figure out, or do I just wait for the sale? Because I'm playing through it for the story pretty much. I don't really care that much about multiplayer on a game like that. So, I don't mind playing it in 6 months when it drops, because I'm not doing it just to play with other people. Because unless I get a group of people that are ready to play it, there's no point in having to play it right now. So
these are the questions of a complex society. What platform? What platform should I buy this game on?
Yeah.
All right. So that's the Division. I do quickly, Brian, there was some radio silence from the Z1 team, the Z1BR team, and they did put out a Steam update on Friday in which they the title right off the bat talks about servers and their showdown tournament and a couple of other things. So just skimming through this and hitting some of the bullet points. April 30th, which will actually be next Tuesday. Hey, we're doing our show on the last day of April. They are ending Season 3. With the ending of Season 3, they are also shutting down the South American servers. I don't know how many servers that is, but they're shutting down that whole region. I believe that's only going to leave us with 3. And they're saying that their goal with this is to consolidate the American player base to North America and speeding up queue times. And they are moving forward, and they are going to start, or at least they're planning, it says as of this time, so, I mean, who knows? But they are planning to start Season 4 on Tuesday, May 14th, which will be 2 weeks from the 2 weeks from the ending of Season 3. They are also not doing the showdown tournament that was scheduled for May. They say that after much deliberation, we determined it's just not realistic for us to put on a massive global event in such a short, because this whole thing was being handled by the Nat G,
Jace, and everything.
Yeah, that was all being handled by that group, and the burner got turned up, and Jace dropped the pot and ran away back into Daybreak's lap, and obviously it's not realistic for them to literally put on an event in like less than a month.
Yeah.
So they're scrapping that. They say they may do another one, but they are still going to do the rewards for the showdown. So they're going to go through with all of that. But
I mean, they've already created the assets. So
yeah.
Let's give them out.
So not a great look. I think our days are numbered. I think the game might be on life support. This is the part that really rubs me wrong, Brian. This is what I read about the season. Let's see, speeding up queue times and ensuring Z1 Battle Royale's other servers continue to operate the vast majority, yada, yada, yada. As of this time, which is already kind of doubt, we plan another thing. We plan to kick off season 4. So within one sentence, they're using words, they're using non-concrete verbiage to describe something. We plan on doing this. As of this time, we plan on doing next week's show on Tuesday. That is giving you, the viewer and the audience, doubt that we aren't going to be here next Tuesday. We are doing the show next Tuesday. But when you say things like, as of this time, we're planning, I mean, you might as well just say, we're thinking of doing it on Tuesday, May 14th.
I mean, this would be a perfect opportunity for them to say something like, well, you know, we're taking feedback on whether or not we need to do a new season. We'd love to hear your input. If you think that we should, well, if we get enough support, we'll consider it. Rather than just saying, yeah, we plan on it, but probably they won't. Really, if they ask for feedback and they get none, that's a good indication that nobody cares. And so if nobody gives you feedback, then just don't do it. Don't waste your time. Don't pretend to do it, because you're just going to do nothing but kind of hurt the reputation of this even more when you promise something or say you're going to do something and then it just fails.
I mean, honest to God, I don't know why they're even bothering with another season.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't have any. I don't know. I just don't even know what to say about it. Like,
I think they don't want to admit that it's done. I mean, the player numbers are really low. There's no way that they're going to assign developers to this because there's just no income in it. And so it's got to be that they're just going to continue having the servers be up. I mean, this is all their engine. So, it's not hard for them to maintain and keep it up. They have guys that are on staff that know the engine. They understand all of this because they're supporting this engine for a couple other products. So it's not like they would turn around and say, hey, it doesn't make financial sense for us to keep this up. They could keep, if there's only a few players playing, they can just keep a couple servers in rotation. Honestly, they should add bots. I mean, if they really want to keep it going, they need to add bots, which I've heard claims that they do have bots, but I've never seen concrete evidence of that. But to have bots in the levels so that you can queue quickly and you can run around and just act like you're in a successful H1Z1. But I think it gets frustrating when you go in there. I mean, I remember saying it, I don't know, how was it, a year or two ago now, where I went into a lobby in the middle of the day, or like in the evening, and couldn't queue up in West Coast during daytime West Coast. I mean, that was a good indicator that they couldn't even fill one lobby. So it got to be even worse now.
But I do want to let you know that there is another there's another fan remake of Just Survive. I was just perusing the H1Z1 subreddit to see if there's anything new, and there's yet another guy that is attempting to remake the game. It's called Just It Survive, and they're already taking pre-orders. You can 30% discount if you pre-order.
Why not just survive it? Like, I don't know. You can't get away with that?
I have no freaking clue.
Just It Survive. I mean,
their website is
Google Translate's hard.
JustItSurvive.com. They've tweeted out some screenshots of showing some assets pulled into the game. It's in Unreal.
I just don't understand why people keep doing that. Like, that's a no-win situation.
Yeah, the website appears to be made pretty poorly. You know what I might do? You ever used privacy.com before?
Mm-mm.
It's a website where you go in and you generate unique credit card numbers for like, I have one for Spotify. The max on it is $10 a month, so it can't be overdrawn. Maybe I'll go and buy this. They're calling it privileged order.
So is it using actual Just Survive assets?
Yeah, this is absolutely Just Survive. I mean, look at it.
Can you go to one of the other?
Those buildings are Just Survive buildings.
I mean, I don't remember seeing that truck.
What truck? This ice cream. That truck may not be, but that camper sure as hell is. It looks. It's a little bit, and I'm pretty sure it's the same model though.
But that's what I'm saying. If they were to recreate these without using the actual asset, they're in perfectly legal grounds to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's the issue, is if they've gone through and just recreated the assets, that's fine. The issue with the other guy is he was turning around and actually importing the originals.
That looks like the
So this
H1Z1
is-
church. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems different enough. It seems like they've almost recreated the assets.
I think they're probably pulling the assets in and then changing the textures and
but that's
changing
where
the
they get an
style.
illegal problem.
But
That's what they should not be doing.
Some of the houses look different, I'll give you, but I mean, like, it just looks like some of the stuff is just stretched and changed. I can't really tell. Nevertheless, it doesn't look great. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
It's like doing a remake of a really old game, and I just don't understand.
I mean, that is the old H1Z1 base, right? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
Just a big snappable platform with a ramp. I mean, it's a little bit different, but I don't know.
Yeah, but he's using a kit to do that.
Yes, he
which
is. This
is an Unreal. That's from the survival game kit, or for Diffuse Studios makes that, and so that's not really an issue. It'd be easier just to use that kit because it's almost identical than it would be to turn around and try to remake it from Just Survive somehow. I don't know. They could be just, if they went through and looked at a bunch of the assets and kind of threw together, because there's a lot of assets that are really low quality that you could pull in that look just like Just Survive.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It seems like they're really, I don't know. It does seem like they're that some of those were not exactly the same. They're just probably going for the same feel. But the issue is they're not going to be able to replicate the feel. You can make a low quality game and it's going to feel like a low quality game. I don't think they're going to capture that feeling that Just Survive gave, because you could create a new Just Survive with better graphics and, people may like it more. I mean, I wasn't tied to the very low quality graphics of Just Survive. That's not what made me enjoy it.
Yeah. So I don't have any other information, but there it is. You can follow him on Twitter. Just It Survive 1.
Nice.
All right, moving on.
How was Just It Survive taken?
I don't know. I'm afraid to go there. It's a suspended account.
Maybe that was their first one and they got
possibly
closed down.
Probably wouldn't put your credit card information on there, but that's just me. So all right, let's move on from H1Z1 to you want to talk about Epic and Fortnite?
Sure. So there's been a couple of stories. First of all, there's an interesting one where there was a guy who was actually made it to the World Cup, the Fortnite World Cup, and he was reported for being a cheater. And it's not like they caught him being a cheater. He was actually reported by the cheat maker.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
So the issue is the World Cup is for $30 million. And if you're a professional Fortnite player, you can compete in this. And the player was Jonathan Kosmala, and he had been using this one guy's cheats, or this group's cheats, and the group said, it's fine if you use our cheats when you're just playing around and doing whatever, but when you then try to win money with them and you go and you cheat in an actual tournament, that is the issue, and they didn't agree with that. So they actually reported him, the team dropped him, and he's been kicked out. So, this, very interesting, a part of what they're purchasing when they buy these cheats is kind of a trust and secrecy. The more expensive cheats are ones that are more custom. There's less people that have them. There's less chance that you're going to be caught. When you go and buy the $5 cheats, you're probably getting a cheat that many, many, many other people have. And so there's a high chance that you're going to get caught and that it's going to be detected. So
wait, you're telling me my aimbot 420 blazeit.exe is everybody else is using the same thing?
Yeah, probably.
Oh my God, I'm screwed. There goes my Fortnite, my professional career.
so that's where some of these streamers, they rely on these cheats. Some of the reasons that they're really popular is because people think they're good because they cheat and they just do a really good job of actually making it not obvious. And so I think with this, yeah, I don't know how many across all these different types of games. I think you'd be surprised at the number of cheaters there are that are streamers, because, you know, once in a while they get caught. But I think that with this, yeah, this one, whether or not, you know, he quit purchasing, maybe this is one where it was a high dollar one and he quit paying and he's like, well, I'm going to go turn you in now. I mean, we don't know the backstory. You only hear that he claims to have had a heart and he turned him in because he didn't think it was fair. Could be that the guy didn't want to pay anymore. I mean, that, you know, and he's like, well, then I'm going to turn you in if you don't buy my cheats anymore.
I'm not going to, he had a heart. Well, he should stop making cheats for the game. And screwing everybody else that wants to just play and have a good time. I don't for 1 second. You are not going to for 1 second convince me that the guy making the cheat is somehow the good guy in this whole story. He's worse than the guy buying the cheat by tenfold. It's not even a comparison.
Well, he claims so this is the cheat maker. He says, you know, the cheats are made to have fun, looking for a stream stomp pubs. Obviously, I don't think he speaks English that well, but then he says he draws the line at anyone cheating to win money and scam other players who are playing legitimately.
I still
I don't know how scam other players, and I assume the money part of it is what he's tying that to.
Yeah, but
you know, you can scam other players who are trying. When I go in and play a game, I want to have it be fair. You're scamming me by not letting me play a fair game. But, you know, we're not playing over money. So that's supposedly what they're claiming.
Yeah, that's a bunch of BS. I don't like this cheat developer guy that is playing that is somehow the good guy for making going, I'm going to make the cheat. The cheat is only for pub stomping, which means you and I have a terrible time every time we get to play. It's only for pub stomping. It's not for winning money in a tournament. It shouldn't exist at all.
Yep. Yeah, and so this, you know, they're kind of making it seem like he's the good guy, but whatever. I mean, there's so many people in a related story. They actually have a bunch of World Cup cheaters, and so they went through and they've actually identified more than 200 Fortnite World Cup qualifying cheaters. So those whatever winnings they would have done, they have to forfeit those.
Wow.
And so that's just, I mean, so that one story was just on one guy who was cheating and was turned in. He wasn't detected, but then they went through and they found 206 cheaters that they were able to detect that had qualified in the Fortnite World Cup.
Damn. So 48 players were banned for 7 days for account sharing. Meaning multiple people were playing as the same user to get a high
boosting
score.
Their account in a way.
Boosting their account. 8 accounts were banned with no length of time, just a ban for teaming. And then they said that only one person, which may be that same guy. Actually, yes, it is the same guy. And then the one guy was permanently banned for using actual cheat software, and that's that Jonathan.
But that's the issue. That's just because one guy actually turned him in.
Yeah.
You know, if that one guy wouldn't have been turned in, they would have 0 that they actually detected as cheating. That's scary. And I don't think that was the only cheater, the only guy using software to cheat. I don't think it just happens to be that one guy.
And they said 196 of the players were banned for 2 weeks for sidestepping region locks in order to have multiple attempts at qualifying for the World Cup. So they were just
playing. Yeah, so probably jumping on the Asia servers.
Yeah, playing in every region until you qualify. Damn.
Yep.
That is the least of the offenses that I find egregious. They're not even the account sharing, while it is definitely unethical. It's not really cheating.
Well, only one.
It's breaking
only
the
one
rules
person's going to be able to play. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but there's a difference between like physically cheating, Brian, and then just a bunch of good people playing under one account. One is again against the rules and unethical. The other is giving these people don't have some unfair advantage. They're regular human beings playing the game. teaming is where it starts becoming, okay, now it's an unfair advantage. Everybody's playing alone except for you, who's playing with 2 other people. You have the advantage. And then, of course, actual cheating.
One thing is they did ban 1 player for 72 hours for disconnecting during a live match to avoid giving points to another player. So
that's pretty funny.
And so I guess there's one person who would disconnect rather than, letting someone else have points. And that was one, there was only one of those, which I can't imagine out of all of those, but probably one that was doing it very obviously, not like you couldn't fake it as a disconnect. He's probably doing it multiple times.
Yes.
So
now last week we talked about the telecom, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. We talked about do you remember what country it was in, the telecom that was blocking Fortnite? I don't remember what. Let me see if I can find it in our notes. I don't remember what country it was in, but there's a telecom.
So that it was over in India, if I remember.
You're right,
correctly.
It was somewhere in India.
Was it Nepal? Where Nepal? I think
maybe. I don't remember, and I can't see.
It was Nepal. So
okay.
Nepal banned PUBG.
Correct. They banned PUBG. They blocked it across their whole ISP network and whatnot. And within the last week, since we talked about that, we've got, Brian, now 2 games that are being banned by the Iraqi government. The government of Iraq has voted to ban Fortnite and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And it's the same reason as before. It says they think it has a negative effect on the youth. And that the game is now banned to play in Iraq. So this is spiraling out of control at a.
I can't imagine Iraq is one of their highest player bases. I don't. But it does. It's setting a precedent.
Well, for the last 3 weeks now, we've had
different countries.
We had the Prince Harry in the UK 3 weeks ago say
that it should be banned.
It should be banned. Then last week we had the government of Nepal, their telecom authority, ban every ISP from traffic on PUBG, and now we've got Iraq banning PUBG and Fortnite. And they're all for the same reason. They're claiming negative effects on the youth, which we're not going to get into. We've done it for 2 weeks now. But this is going to be a problem that's actually going to affect these companies sooner rather than later. All it takes is a big country like the UK or Russia or some other European country to ban Fortnite and or PUBG from essentially region lock you out of the game, and then all hell's going to break loose. Because it's going to be like hitting a domino. I mean, it's really not going to be good.
At what point are people going to accept your country? I mean, we do allow it in certain areas, but at what point are you going to say, all right, you're going to tell me what game? This happens in Australia. I mean, we've talked about before games that aren't allowed in Australia because they deem it to be violent or drug use or whatever it is. My fear is that this becomes more and more prominent, and who's the person who decides what is appropriate for me to watch or even to listen to?
Well, countries already do that though with FCC in the United States. I mean, they say, for example, there are words that you can't say on television. You can't show partial nudity before it's either 8 or 10 p.m. 8 or 10 p.m.
But you have the right to watch it via other methods and not be in trouble with your government. Here, they're not allowing you a course around it. It's not like it's saying you can't use these in public internet cafes. No, they're saying in your own home, you're not allowed to play this game.
Yeah.
That for me that's the issue.
Yeah. I don't know. But
there's no solution to it other than there needs to be a serious consideration of, but these places don't allow free speech. I mean, that's part of the issue, but we can't be, if we do allow free speech here in the United States, we can't be looking at those countries for guidance. I mean, if they don't allow people to freely voice their opinion on the street, why are we letting that country then decide what we should be allowed to play here in the United States? That shouldn't we, my concern is that they're going to be using that and saying, see, these countries banned it, we should consider banning it too. That is my concern. And I'm sure there are games out there that I don't like. I think they're inappropriate, or I think they're disgusting, but at no point do I say no one should be allowed to play those games. And I have the choice not to play those games. If I don't like them, don't support them. And you know what? They'll probably go out of business eventually if enough people don't like them. But the thing is here, when you have a government coming in saying what games can you play and what games you can't play, it's a really slippery slope.
I agree. I'm trying to figure out what kind of government they've got in Nepal. Because I think that's interesting. Okay, so they have a prime minister. Oh, they're a democratic republic, which is funny enough exactly what the United States is. And I don't know anything about their actual government, but
how it is when you actually get on the ground.
Yes, but this is what I suspect, Brian, is going to happen is you're going to have, for lack of a better term, I'm going to use the word coalition of these major game companies coming together, which is going to be essentially PUBG and Fortnite, and they are going to have to do something with some international governance body to try to stop this ball from rolling down the hill, because it will spiral out of control at a rapid rate.
Let's look at what H1Z1 did with their going into China.
Yeah,
because if you'll remember, they took out bones and they took out blood and
cop
they
cars.
did all these changes, took out the cop cars, because China would not allow them to have those things in their game, because they found it offensive and moral grounds and all this stuff that they put it on. Well, they were willing to bend and look, it actually, I mean, sure, they sold a lot of copies, but where's that game now?
Yeah, but
I mean, that's not the reason that it dropped, but I know a lot of people were upset that they were sitting there and catering to them, and they really felt like that was the priority.
But, well, yes, I think, but there's a big difference between those two things, in my opinion, Brian, because in the case of what you had with H1Z1 in China, they said, we don't want blood, or we don't want cop cars. Let's just use those two things and say, okay, the reason that this game is being banned is because they're claiming that it's addictive. And it's too fun. And it's a bad, yeah, it's too funner for everybody. It's too much fun that everybody's having. I mean, they're essentially saying that this is something this is bad for you. You are addicted. It is having negative. They're saying negative effects on youth. They're not pointing to a specific element of the game. They're just saying in general. It was quoted in the Nepal story last week, that kids are not doing chores, they're being disobedient to their parents, and they're not doing well in school.
That's been happening since the 80s.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm the great example of that. But how Epic can't flip the "we aren't addictive" switch, or whatever switch that these governments want them to flip to solve the problem. H1Z1 had the problem. We don't like blood. We don't like cop cars. Snap your fingers. Can't
you say that consoles do the exact same thing? I mean, imagine how many kids are doing schoolwork because of the PS4 and the Xbox. You could turn around, and it doesn't matter what game it is. You can say that whole platform keeps kids from doing what they're supposed to be doing.
You're not going to come up with a logical argument to this, Brian. It's an illogical thing that these governments are doing.
It's just strange that they're picking these one things just because those happen to be the popular things at the moment and banning them. Some other game's going to come along. If you don't let them play this, another game is going to pop in its place, and now that's going to be popular.
But we've seen, though, and without getting into a political argument and conversation about it, governments are so out of touch with reality, and these bans that are coming across, the fact that Nepal only banned PUBG and not Fortnite and all the other BR games is dumbfounding. I mean, it's uncomprehendable how stupid that is.
I mean, it seems like it'd make more sense for them to say, we're putting a time limit on the amount of games that children can play per day. I mean, if you really care,
police that.
How are they? I mean,
what are you going to do? Break down your door and check how long you've been on the computer? You know damn well that's not going to work. The ISP bans it, Brian. They're not going to allow any traffic. It makes more sense. Yeah, none of it makes sense, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I don't want to get
make the parents responsible. If you really think it's that much of an issue, say we are going to mandate limitations on your children's usage. And if we find that you're breaking it and their school is suffering, then you will be held accountable. You want to know? That's going to be the way that you're actually going to limit this. Not that it's a good way, but that would be the only way that you would really make an effective change on what's happening. And just banning 1 or 2 games is not going to solve the problem. That doesn't get to the core. That's a Band-Aid on the outside.
Yeah, of course. But that's
you're
what
not actually
does.
fixing any of the. Yeah, they're doing a Band-Aid and not actually solving any of the problem.
Yeah. So we'll continue to cover this. I'm of the opinion, and I think you agree with it, Brian, that this I think it's going to, but it definitely has the potential to spiral out of control very quickly. One big government, and there's going to be some squirms from inside of these companies, like the UK being the example with Prince Harry. If he waves his wand and his tea tomorrow and says, we're done with Fortnite, there's going to be a serious problem inside of Epic Games.
Well, okay, perfect example. Look what they did with GDPR and the fines. They put billions of dollars of fines on Google because of privacy concerns. It's the exact same thing. They get mad at Google. Google's the problem, so they fine them for billions of dollars. Well, I don't know why Google's even bothering to do business there anymore. I mean, at that point, when you're paying billions of dollars in fines, you have to balance out, is it really worth, and is that country going to benefit from not having Google offer customized services to that country? I mean, as far as maps and whatever else, people are going to start getting pissed at the government when they realize that they can no longer go on Google Maps. And so I think that here, if they try to do it, they'll probably do it through fines and saying, if you don't make changes, we're going to fine you this amount of money, and just make it not financially. They won't do it through doing an outright ban like Nepal did, because that's too in your face. But they will do it through banning and saying, if you don't follow these little rules that they make, we're going to fine you all this money and just make it not profitable to be there.
Yeah.
And say that they gave them a choice.
And on track with the Fortnite news, because everybody loves talking about it, there have been a couple of articles as of late and videos being made, and we've seen this in the past, people talking about the working conditions over at Epic. And I think this is important because I think there's a lot of industries that are like this. And for some reason, these gaming blogs, and this is my personal opinion on it, you can take it or leave it, but the claim here, there's a Polygon article here that a lot of people are sourcing and citing, and there are workers there that say that they are pretty much being mandated to work 70-hour weeks to get their work done. And I don't know how far I want to go into this from my viewpoint of it, Brian, but I think that this is very common in every industry that works with strict and stringent deadlines. This happens in technology. You don't think this happens with Apple before they're supposed to release a new device? You don't think the Samsung developers that now are dealing with phones that are breaking in half, you don't think those guys are working 80, 90, 100 hours a week trying to figure out how the hell they shipped this phone to every tech YouTuber, and these phones are literally breaking within seconds of users turning them on? You don't think those guys are working 24/7 trying to figure out how they screwed this up? This is very common in this industry.
And the thing is, this, even with Google, if you go and you can watch some people, there's YouTube channels of people who used to work at Google that talk about this type of environment, where there's a limited shelf life of you working at Google, because they will work you hard, right? And you'll just get to the point where you're like, I don't want to work this way anymore, and you'll move on to a different company. Now, here you've got people that are just trying to lambast Epic Games itself. They don't care about the actual details and the facts of it. And they want to make Epic Games look like the bad guy. But the issue is not Epic Games itself. The issue is the industry. If you really care about people working too many hours, then look at the whole industry, because the whole industry is doing it. It's not even just this industry. I mean, my wife is on salary, and she puts in incredible hours, because that's what it takes. And it's the exact same reason they gives in here to get the job done. I need to put in this kind of time
now,
to do it right.
Now, Brian, I don't want to get too personal with this and tell me where I'm maybe bringing personal things in. You were unhappy with the field you were previously in before you decided to go back to school. And from our private conversations, you were working all the time. And that was part of your reason that you decided you wanted to change in what you're doing. No? Am I stepping out of bounds?
Well,
or am
I mean, part of it was I could never just go home and not have to deal with it. I was always on call.
Yeah.
And I just didn't enjoy that. And I wanted something to where I could work from home and I wouldn't be pulled away. I mean, for just on a personal note, on my honeymoon, I had somebody call me, one of my CPA clients, and say that their server went down. It was during tax season. I mean, it was in March. At the very end of March was my honeymoon, and the tax season is in April. So they were dealing with a lot of tax stuff. And so, that was just something to where I had to go to the side and work remotely and get their server back up. Same thing. I went to Mexico and I ended up having to remotely work from the resort to be able to help get them up. But you know what? If you don't like that, move to a different industry, move to a different company. Not all companies are like this. You can get to more relaxed ones.
I'm in a very similar situation right now. I've talked about it. I'm on call all the time. I mean, if I said today I was absolutely done with that, I would just quit my job and go work somewhere else. Go get a job in retail. Those hours are pretty set in stone. The store is not open at 3 o'clock in the morning, unless you're working at like a Walmart or Target or something like that. Go get a job at an Old Navy. That store is open until what, 9 o'clock at night or something like that. I mean, strict schedule
for developers. There's plenty of companies that are 9-to-5 development companies. They're not all these like here where they're constantly pushing towards. I mean, there's plenty around here, the Paylocity, and there's a lot of companies that if I wanted to go to a 9-to-5 job, I could.
They're 9-to-5 until your product is ready to come out, and you need to have it done by a certain point. And this article goes into.
But the thing is a lot of these companies are on continuous cycles of their maintaining products. Like it depends on the type of cycles. Here, they're pushing towards version numbers. Right. And a lot of, or like with Google, they push towards product releases and features, like big product features. There are a lot of companies out there that are maintaining products, and their biggest concern is having it be consistent. And so they have people that just are very consistent and they do things in certain ways. But if there is a disaster, if something goes wrong, for instance, I managed a server at a hospital, and this was an old Unix server that went down, and it held all the medical records for this hospital. And so, you know what, during that week, I went in early in the morning, and there was a team dedicated to this. We all sat in a room and figured out the problem. And we spent very long days for that period of time, making sure that we got it back as quickly as possible. That's how it works. And I didn't complain about it because that was what was necessary for that time.
Well, and I don't want to sound like I'm a heartless bastard when I talk about this stuff, but you do have the decision to, if you're in the I'm going to use video games. If you're in the technology world, there are very few jobs, I think, in the mainstream technology world where stuff like this doesn't exist. You don't think there are people at Google, and Twitter and Facebook that are working 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week?
Oh yeah. There's all those plenty of them.
Yeah, but that's the point, is this when you are working for a company that is essentially maintaining an always on product, this is what it is.
But part
I just don't
of what
see
allows this to happen.
I mean, the thing that pisses me off about this freaking Polygon article is that I'm supposed to cry, woe is me, for these guys at Epic that are working 70 hours a week, making a shit ton of money. What about everybody else? I work my ass off.
They're getting paid overtime. No one's working for free. They're getting paid overtime. The overtime is not required. It's assumed is what they're complaining about in this article. It says I get unlimited overtime, and I get paid for any overtime that I do. Or sorry, I get unlimited time off. So there is no limit. You can take as much time off as you want at Epic. They're saying, but then I'm going to pass the work on to somebody else, and I feel bad. So instead I stay work 70 hours in a week. Okay. Well, that's your choice. 100% your choice. You're the one deciding to do that. And if you don't like it, go work at a different company. Part of these companies, the big point of them is they are resume builders. People, they've realized that they can get people to work there because, you know what, me saying that I worked at Epic for 2 years, if I can last 2 years there, I can go get hired anywhere else, right? Any other game development company, I'm going to be able to get hired on if I can say I worked at Epic for 2 years. You know, Google, you go work there for a couple of years. That's on your resume now. You have worked at Google. That'll help you getting another job. And I think that they're taking advantage. All these companies are taking advantage that people really want to work there and they don't really ask questions of, you know, what they have to do to get into that position.
I think these video game journalists would be blown out of the water if they were to spend any period of time working in and around small business, at least in the United States, because every small business in the United States is what this story is on Epic. I mean, I know I know so many other people that are either the owners and or the operators of a small business, and this is what it is. And I'm sorry, but I don't have any sympathy for these people. I just don't. I mean, Brian, I mean, were you looking for TechCrunch to write an article about woe is me, Brian, the server admin? You put yourself in that situation, and guess what? You didn't like it, so you decided to move on. And I'm just sorry, but I'm just not going to sit here and read some article about a bunch of people bitching that they're working too many hours and getting paid overtime. Quit. Go work at a freaking Chick-fil-A. They close at 9:30 p.m.
And you get Sundays off.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed. Exactly. So shut up and stop bitching about it. This article and these videos really piss me off because I'm in the exact same situation. I'm not looking for some article to be written by the local newspaper so I can get a woe is me and a bunch of sympathy from people. It's so
and what they're really
stupid.
pushing for, if you look at what the end result of all this that they're actually pushing for is to unionize developers.
Oh yes,
that's what they want. They want to create a union for developers, which if you're complaining about the cost of a game, you just wait till they unionize it, because all of a sudden then there's going to be so many restrictions. It's going to be so hard to actually release a game at that point when unions get in there and say, oh, you're only allowed to work 30 hours a week. Oh, and you need every single kind of benefit. You need to have, and they really start working it in there. Games will not be $60 per title anymore.
Yeah, and they'll take 3 times as long to come out.
It'll take 3 times as long to make them, and they'll probably be 3 times the cost.
Yeah.
So, you know, that just seems to be where this is pushing for, to more of that. I mean, put towards a little bit more socialism, as far as, not to get political, but how you're dealing with these developers in this industry. I think that's the overall reason that they're pushing this point. Not because they actually care. Well, right now they want to hate on Epic, but if they really cared, they'd write it about all these other companies that are doing the exact same thing. They did write it. Trying to remember, what was the last one that came out? Wasn't it about Epic as well? When they kind of were griping about, no, that was Rockstar. Sorry, Rockstar. They had the exact same complaint. Yes. They're saying, oh, they work too hard. But the thing is, it was coming to a deadline.
80 hours a week, 4 weeks before the game came out. Okay. Rockstar didn't put a gun. They didn't put a gun to any employee's head and said, if you don't work 80 hours a week, we are going to kill you in this office. But guess what they probably did say? If you don't show up and get this shit done by the time that you said it was going to be done, you're not going to have a job. So get in here and get it done.
Then they go to Kotaku, or they go to whatever person wrote that article and say, oh, this is so unfair. They're telling me I'm going to get fired if I don't work. Yeah, because you promised a time. It has a deadline. It's got to be released by this date, and you didn't keep to it. You want to know what? In other companies, you'd be fired if you didn't keep your word. And so, but you can go and pressure a company by saying, oh, poor me.
I know so many people that are in small business, and this article really pisses me off because it's just another example.
But in small business, you're not always guaranteed to get paid.
No, but
you're working a lot of hours that you're not getting fully compensated for. Many times.
Absolutely. And it's this.
Here you are. You're getting every hour paid for,
believe
plus
me,
overtime.
I know all about it, and it just shows how disconnected video game journalism and technology blogger. These people are bloggers, not journalists. These bloggers are from reality. It's just the total disconnection.
There was a quote in here where they just listen to this twist. They said we need more people to be able to, get this, meet this deadline. So one senior guy said, "Hey, just get more bodies. We need more people." As a term, like, get more bodies. Yeah. We need more people, right? And they said they refer to their employees as bodies. What are you talking about? That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Just get more bodies? That's saying hire more people. That's what that term means. And you're telling me they're referring to them as bodies. That's the stupidest, most ignorant thing I've heard in an opinion blog in a while.
Yeah, but Colin Campbell, some jackass that writes at Polygon, he is the expert in everything.
Get more bodies.
Yeah, well, Brian, he lives in Santa Cruz and he writes for Polygon. So he is the true expert on what everybody actually goes through in life.
Well, it's a way to take a word and say, we need more manpower. Oh, they said man, that's cultural appropriation. Okay, that's not what manpower means. It's a term meaning you need more people, regardless of whether they're men or women. Here, they're taking the word bodies as a reference to we need more people, which is a very common term. You'll hear it all the time. That shows you that if you're looking for one sentence to really embody the kind of opinion and the way that they're pushing your opinion in this article, it's that line right there. They refer to their employees as bodies.
See,
the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I'm doing some more research on this guy. He's got a book out, Brian, called Piranha Frenzy, and it's about the video game industry. And yes, he talks about reviewers and a whole bunch of other things. So this guy's clearly got some type of agenda to be pushing here. But nevertheless, the whole point of bringing this up was that, I mean, just be aware with what you're reading about this stuff, because, I mean, this article is just nonsense over at Polygon. And this Colin Campbell guy's a total jackass. I mean, it's just a total jackass with no concept of how the world works. Because he sits at a Starbucks and pens articles on his MacBook all day. Go to hell, asshole. I mean, seriously.
Hey, and we do have this is ridiculous. We were at PAX and we were in the press room where they're just sitting around doing nothing half the day. Yeah. We were there. I've seen it. They sit around and they sit there and gossip about other people in the industry at their desks and talk about it was the stupidest thing. We sat back there and nothing really was happening. So they're not working hard. We were working hard. I mean, we saw the difference.
I want somebody from Kotaku to write a blog about how the podcast paid for me to go sit in Seattle and talk about video games and how I walked almost 25 miles. I need an article written. Brian, can you pen something on Bite of Tech for me?
Yeah. I'll make it as pandering as I possibly can. I hate these people.
Too. I'm so freaking pissed off with this stuff. These people need to just... I've already used enough profane language. I won't. I won't use any more. Let's move on. I can't
mark up our rating.
No,
here. All right. So should we do the game giveaway
podcast? Yeah, sure. Whatever. Do whatever you want, Brian. I don't want to pigeonhole you or confine you in any which way. Whatever you feel comfortable with.
All right. So let's go ahead and do a giveaway, and this will be exclamation point giveaway in chat. And we'll do a 60-point raffle, so people should have been watching for an hour. So let me go ahead and open this. And let me get the game here. And this is a game called Regions of Ruin.
Okay.
And I'll get a Steam link so you can check out what it's about. But this is a RPG adventure indie action strategy 2G game. It has very positive ratings. It came out in about a year, and it's currently a $12 game. So if you're interested in this, it's a Regions of Ruin is a 2D pixel side-scrolling RPG with town building where you explore, fight, and build into an open world that progressively challenges you and your settlement and threatens the extinction of the dwarven race. So if you're interested in that, exclamation point giveaway.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Brian. And if you're not here live, well, maybe it's a Wednesday. We'll be live next Tuesday at our regularly scheduled time, 7 p.m. We plan We plan on probably being here next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So join us for that, 7 p.m. Eastern, in our Twitch, and we're also on YouTube Live as well. It's twitch.tv/infection podcast. Brian, let's talk about some survival games here. You know, enough of the Fortnite podcast. I did let our Discord know our Epic check cleared before the show, so we were able to.
Yes, it did.
We talked about Epic in a very positive light this evening. They can never do anything.
Keep the money coming.
They can do nothing wrong. But this weekend was actually the final open alpha weekend for Xera. Is it Xera or Xara? It's Xera, right? Xera.
Yep,
Xera. Xera Survival. So Joshua over there put out his final set of patch notes, and there's actually a lot in here. Here are the top features, the top things that he highlighted in this. First one was global, group, and proximity chat channels, so you can talk in game. The crosshairs now have some ability to be customized, vehicle bug fixing and improvements, and he added a new region actually. As H1Z1 shuts down their South American region, he's actually adding a region for Brazil and a set of servers down there.
I remember he did mention that for some reason the game really took off in Brazil. Like he got a lot of support out of Brazil.
He bought some Facebook
because
ads
of Google
there.
AdWords or Facebook ads. Yes.
Yeah.
And so he's got a lot of people in Brazil, so he's added servers there.
Yeah. I don't know how much of these notes I'll just read through a couple of things here. So they added support for written group chat and support for proximity chat. Pressing tab will change between global, group, and proximity. They made some animation changes, new jump animations for the ARs and snipers, and a new jump animation for the pistols. The leaderboards, they made some changes to. Skill rating leaderboard now displays up to 100 players. The kill leaderboard now displays 100 players, as well as the experience leaderboard, and they are cached every 20 minutes. So all the information is saved with that. This is for crafting, reduced the quantity requirements to make the remote C4 kit. They fixed various item descriptions stating wrong ammo type. They reduced the XP given from picking up items to 1. It was 5. They added a protection tooltip to armors and helmets. They added a tooltip to health items, added a tooltip to food and fluids. And then the crosshair, they added a color selector, customization for both first and third person. They added a toggle for first person. And then they allowed you to rebind both the primary key, which is the fire key, and then the secondary action, which is the ADS, the aim key, as well. And then a couple of other changes in here for some other various things. A pretty big patch, but that's it. That's the end of the final open alphas. I don't know what the next step will be in terms of allowing people to get in there and playing that, but
I would assume at some point he's going to just start pushing to sell it. But I mean, he's going to have to get a certain number of players, so maybe he'll do a sale or something to get the servers full.
It's not even available to buy. You just have to sign up on their website. So I don't.
Yeah, but is there not a copy that you can get?
No, I don't believe you can buy it in the Steam store. I could be totally.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Is he'll probably release it now to where you can start purchasing into the alpha.
Yes,
whatever you call it. I mean, who knows? It's all meaningless as far as what it actually means now. But he'll probably have it to where you can start purchasing in and get into the early access and say, hey, this is a intro price. Once we release out of release, it'll be to final release. It will be this price, to get people in now.
Yeah. So
one thing so we did play it. A couple of us went and played it on Saturday, and we were able to go in there and try some of the new modes. So when you're in there, there's kind of a base. We found some bases that you can go to, and if you kill a certain number of robots, it has like kill 30 robots in this area inside of this base. We went in there and did that, and then these big airdrops containers slowly fall down to get in there that have a bunch of loot in them, and that was a really good way because we had one where it dropped with us where we didn't have anybody come, but we saw it then landing in one of the other ones, and so we ran out there and started started trying to get to that base and got killed, and it was some good gunfights. I do remember I mentioned, I think after one of the last tests, that I thought that players in the shots were killing people too quickly. And I think he did tweak that because it felt like it took more shots to actually kill somebody this time. So we did get into some good gunfights, where before it was the fights were, I don't, you remember, they were over so quickly.
Yeah, I killed a whole bunch of people like instantly. It was great.
And so that, I mean, sure, that can be fun, but the problem is you don't really get to experience a good gunfight.
No.
And I felt like this time we had a number of shots that we're able to do. You know, you'd actually sit there and have a back and forth, and you know that they still were able to kill me, but it was mostly because, you know, I wasn't comfortable with using med kits and all that, and really taking advantage of what I had. Where if you played enough, you could, okay, I'm gonna use the med kit and I'm gonna do all this stuff to survive. It brought in the ability for a skill gap, which is really important for this type of thing. It's not totally down to luck and chance. So I thought that was a lot better. And Nisco's asking, there were no cheaters this time. I didn't really notice. I didn't notice any cheaters. Nothing that was blatant. So of course, you know, when you get killed, you're always going to say, oh, that person had to be cheating. But
100% cheating.
but you know, this time, at least just watching the players, it didn't feel like that we were running into any cheaters. So
excellent.
I think it went pretty well.
All right. So there is Xera. We will oh, that's the wrong lower third there. We'll bring you an update when we find out what the next step is. Have it be some type of paid alpha, or maybe I don't know what the next term is.
I'm sure he'll announce it. He usually comes in here and gives some input, so he'll announce it here at some point, and we can talk about it and see what's going on. So
absolutely. What else do you want to get to here, Brian? We still got
well,
plenty
I want to
of
talk
time.
really quick. I want to talk a little bit about PUBG because they published some numbers actually showing their revenue for the past year.
Really?
So last year, PUBG made nearly $1 billion, and that's revenue. So
I bet you people were working hard.
I'm sure they were. And so they said they made 920 million in revenue during 2018. That was up from 2017. It was only 220 million. So I mean,
that's revenue, because they had a whole bunch of costs in 2017.
Yes. And so if you look at the actual profit, that they made $310 million out of that 920, the 310 million of it was profit. So mobile is, the people would think that mobile would be a big part of that, but that was 65 million of it was mobile. So it was only a small percentage in comparison. The majority of that profit is from PC sales. And is this on console? It's on console too. So whatever
it is, I don't
PC, probably console right now is probably making more money than PC, I would assume.
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
You don't think so?
I don't think those games play well. I could be totally off base. I just don't.
Yeah, most of this is in Asia, so I don't know.
Oh, if it's in Asia, then it's almost exclusively PC. The console market in Asia is not very popular.
53% of the 920 million was the Asian market. So, but this will be interesting to see where, once again, a company has a majority of their profit. This happened with H1Z1 coming from Asia. If they start to like Nepal, start to decide to ban these things, that cuts their profit. And then you run into, because that's pretty much what killed H1Z1, was when they really started running into hassles and people stopped playing in China. So I would assume most of these numbers are coming from China. And so we'll have to see. Okay, actually here they do, there's a tweet below that they reference, and I found the split. PC was 790 million of it. Mobile 65 million. Console 60 million. Console was the smallest out of all three.
Yeah, I don't think these games are, I mean, these games are too PUBG specifically. Fortnite I know has got a pretty big console player base. But PUBG is too hardcore of a game. The same way I feel about DayZ. Too hardcore of a game to really have a
It's like 7 days to die on console. It's just
it might be
okay,
fun
I'm
to
gonna
play
not get
for a
into this.
little while, but I don't think it can sustain a player base like PC can. And they're clearly
Yeah.
sustaining a player base on PC. Anybody that says PUBG is dead, they made $800 million on the PC sale.
Well, and
or PC profits or whatever you want to call
we've
it.
talked about this too. I think a lot of what drives games like this is the cheaters market, because if you look at a huge percentage of these games, there's a large percentage of cheaters in them compared to other game styles. And so, who knows how much of that is being driven just by that kind of micro market. So I don't know. I don't know that console would ever be able to, first of all, because the play style just doesn't feel as good, especially with you can go and you can play a game like Fortnite on a console and not feel so bad, because it just doesn't, it's not a game about accuracy. When you get to PUBG, it's a game about accuracy. You have to be able to work well with sniper shots, have quick reaction times. But even on a console on Fortnite, building, I just can't imagine being a fun task.
I don't know. Fortnite, this is Infection Podcast statistics, so take them what they're worth. I think Fortnite is incredibly popular on the console comparison to PUBG. There's something more about, there's something, I don't know if it's the casual, the arcadiness, maybe the word, the arcadiness of Fortnite in comparison to PUBG that makes it, I mean, I have a whole bunch of friends that only play it on console.
But they don't, that's the problem. PUBG doesn't have that arcadey feel.
No, it doesn't at all. It feels like I'm in the army killing people. I mean, it's crazy.
It feels like you're playing a different, slightly modified version of Arma.
Well, that's which is what it is. So yeah, it's not surprising.
Yep. So anyways, I thought people might find that interesting. This is their best year yet, but you wouldn't think it. I mean, you would have thought that they were actually dwindling, but not over in Asia. And I think what they've done is a really good job of separating the markets to where, okay, you don't realize how popular it is here, because unlike H1Z1, who kept on throwing in our faces, look how popular we are, and saying, look at how many people are playing. And they kept saying, see, we're popular here. No, you're popular over in Asia. I think over there, they realize it. And so they market and do all their stuff in Asia, and they don't really brag about the numbers here. So, and that's good for them, because people don't go and say, we know what you're lying, where you could go to H1Z1 and say, you know what, you're wrong. They can't do that here because they're not claiming it. You don't hear PUBG saying, hey, look at how popular we are in the United States. I haven't heard them say that for a long time.
No, it's blatant. I talk about it every week at the end of the program. It is blatantly obvious how unpopular they are, but just because they're unpopular in the States, clearly doesn't mean that they're unpopular across the world, because they're still raking in. Now, it's nowhere near the amount of money that Epic is making, but it is still, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
So so I'm sure they're going to continue doing what they were doing this next year and try to maintain that.
Yeah.
So they did put out update number 28. And so they implemented, I think I talked about this a little bit last week, but the weapon mastery system that is now in there, to where you can level up individual weapons and get perks, skins, and things like that for it. They also have been rebalancing the loot in Erangel. They have their Survivor Pass 3, which we did hint at a little bit, talk about some. That's now implemented, so you can subscribe to that and get some of the new skins from there. They've been reworking the store UI, the team grouping system UI, just kind of doing a lot of UI work. And then, of course, as they always say, we're trying to improve performance. But that's something you hear every single week. And then they did a lot of bug fixes. So that is update number 28, which you got to think from the beginning of time, that's not that many updates.
Sorry, did they fix any anti-cheat?
I do. There's a shock here, but I do not see a note like we would normally say.
Control F, I don't see anything in here. Well, nope, they didn't. No cheating. No anti.
No battle eye, and no anti-cheat. So, oh well. I guess this week they did fix it. It's all done. Don't need to fix anymore. So that was PUBG, and then I just put the article down there since it was for both PUBG and Fortnite. So if you are going through our show notes later, you will see the article on there twice. Okay, so one thing kind of I guess close to what we've been talking about recently, Arma 3 put out a new DLC called the Creator DLC.
Okay.
And this is, and I want to get your opinion on this. These are additions that have been made by third-party developers. So pretty much people that make mods and things for the game. So they released that as a DLC, and they're making a 50% profit off of that. So the mod maker gets 50%, and then Bohemia Interactive gets 50%.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you think that that is fair? Because we've been complaining about, 30% is too much for Steam, and I have my opinion. But do you have an issue with 50% split between something like this?
This is the standard in this from Rust,
For
Unturned,
like
and Arma 3 now. It's always been 50%.
Yeah.
I do
well,
wanna,
and this go ahead.
I do want to thank our friend Big Woody Sauce for the resubscription. He says, "OMG, you guys are my heroes. You have no idea how much you help people by being able to listen to you." Thank you, Ross. We appreciate it.
So
now Nisco's saying 50% is greedy.
But it's not for a mod.
Well,
That's the issue.
Well, I don't necessarily. 50% could be greedy, Brian, but that's what everybody. That's the only number I've ever seen.
So there's a difference, though. Here, they're actually creating the whole platform. So it is a 50-50 split as far as work. They're creating the whole platform that you're running the game on. When you're dealing with an engine, that is different. You're having to create everything from scratch that on top of that engine. You're actually doing a lot of original work. You're doing not nearly as much original work doing a mod like this. You're so highly reliant on the fact that they have all these other features. You could say that engines like Unreal Engine is getting so feature rich that, whatever, you could argue that. But with this, it is purely tied. They're not creating standalone content. It will not run without this game installed and purchased. So I think it's more of...
Here's the thing. I think a lot of people that are making these mods are making them, I'm not saying everybody, but I'm going to just let's paint with broad brushes, which always gets us in trouble. I think a lot of the people making these mods are making them because they enjoy the game. They want the mod. It's a bingo, Brian. It is a passion project. And the fact that they can turn that into some sort of revenue, is it going to be enough to quit your day job? Probably not. But if you can, make a couple $100 extra a month, or even $100 a month, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what these guys are making. It just seems the goal with this is I don't think people are saying, "Oh, this guy, for example, has got a Cold War tank thing." There's a whole bunch of vehicles, 42 vehicles that are in this thing. I doubt, I could be wrong, but I doubt this guy started this project going, "I hope to be making a whole bunch of money with this mod." I could be wrong, but I don't think that was the original intent.
So here's how these things come to be. First of all, when you create a mod for Arma, you then have to post it and have it on a market and do all these processes. So it auto updates and people have to subscribe. In Steam, for instance, you have the Steam workshop. People have to subscribe to that mod. So when you join a server, you can have a list of all these mods that people have to have, and it's a pain to deal with. Part of what they're doing with this most likely is just combining a lot of the very popular mods and making it so that it's built into the base product, so you don't have to subscribe, and it just gives you a bunch to pick from. So they pretty much have gone through and picked out what they think is the best. They're adding it to the base product. And now, as long as you have this one mod, you have all of these extra vehicles, and you have all these extra, they have extra maps in here, all these extra things that you can have. But you could probably get the exact same thing if you went on to the Steam Workshop and subscribed to them all. It's more of a convenience thing. Now, they may have custom content. They may have said, make some, you've done a good job making those other mods, make some unique content, and we'll do a 50-50 split. But they probably went into it understanding that fact.
Yeah. I don't really know. 50% is what everybody else always does. So is that too high? Maybe, maybe not. I don't really know. That's kind of what the market is feeling.
If you don't like it, make your own game. Honestly,
I'm not even going that far. It's
on a mod,
but that's just what the market is. I mean, it seems like that is the market. That's what the market is willing to pay for mod ability.
Because the game is not standalone. If you take the game away, that mod is worthless. Where you can take Unreal and people can release it, and it's not reliant on anything else. It'll just keep working. So I think that's the big difference.
Okay, well, there you go.
All right, so I wanted to show a video here showing some things with Minecraft. Now we talked about 4K Minecraft, and this is just music, so we can talk over it. You don't need to.
Weird aspect ratio.
Yeah, well, it's 4K.
Okay, so what is this that we're watching?
So this is a new, I guess, kind of graphics engine. So this is what they call PTGI E6, and the previous version was on PTGI E5, and I think this new one supports ray tracing. So this is a sample in 4K, and you can kind of see the difference between these two technologies. And I don't know. I mean, if you look at the frame rates, it does look like it's not screaming along. I think it's doing a lot of stuff here to run this at 4K with this. But you will see some stills that are like when they'll show side by side with the ocean and things like that. It seems like it's more just like a little bit darker. So there you go. So you can kind of see, well, with that one, it looks lighter. Find one, if you can find one with the ocean where it has the sky, and you can really see some of the detail difference.
I'm trying.
I think it's earlier.
That
before that. Nope. It's like an island in the ocean.
Oh,
You'll see sky. There you go. So so you can see there on the old one, it's not quite as dark, but you'll see a lot of difference in the sky. They've added more detail to the sky, but it's not a huge difference. I mean, it looks a little bit better, but it's not a huge amount different. I don't know. But ray tracing, you'll mainly see with shadows and things like that, where you really see the differences. And I don't know if Minecraft is the best way to display ray tracing technology, especially when you're dealing with blocks.
What does this all mean?
Ray tracing?
Oh, I just like this, like the whole thing with the Minecraft thing. Like,
it's just there. It's a new, pretty much renderer.
But it's a render for Minecraft or for?
Well, Minecraft uses E5 by default, and so I guess they updated it, made it so it runs the new version, and then that I think allows them to use ray tracing.
Okay, I got you.
Yep. And so now you have this, which sure, great. There you go. Minecraft 4K ray tracing. It's a big waste of a $2,000 video card.
Thank God.
So.
Anyways,
I thought people would find it interesting. If you want to see that, if you go to 2 minutes 35 seconds.
Oh, geez, hold on, I gotta get back to it.
Sorry, 2 minutes 32 seconds.
You have to describe this for our audio listeners.
Okay.
2 what?
2 minutes and 32 seconds. And one thing that I noticed with that is it seems like the old version looks better, like on the floor. To me, it looks better in the old one. Now the shadows are slightly different, but it seems like it kind of lost some of the depth. So like the normals, they call it normals, on the floor. It looks much more flat on the new one. So I don't know. I don't think it's always better. I think they're going to have to start kind of working. One interesting fact that people might not realize is ray tracing for some of the newer games that are implementing it.
I'm sure half the people listening to this have no idea what ray tracing is. Can you give us a very quick explanation?
So ray tracing deals with shadows and detecting how shadows are portrayed. I mean, just as one example, portrayed in a game, reflections and everything else. And so with ray tracing, they can get much more realistic shadows in the way that it traces how reflections happen. But the problem is it can eat for certain types of tasks. If you have a lot of little objects, it's very performance heavy. And so these companies, as they're starting to implement ray tracing, they don't implement it everywhere. They will actually implement it in certain aspects of the game, because there's certain areas where it does improve and it makes it look better and it feels better, but it doesn't actually improve. There are some areas where ray tracing makes performance worse. So I think you'll start seeing ray tracing implemented a little bit, but I think it's going to be for particular scenes or maybe for a particular item. But if you were to see ray tracing implemented, like let's say in a subway scene, I saw an example, and there was light kind of shining through and a train going by, and then you saw shafts of light kind of going through the windows, much more realistic on ray tracing. And they were able to do much more of an accurate job that seemed lifelike. And so you'll see aspects like that where they do it, but they're going to turn it off for a lot of things when there's a lot of virtual objects in the world, because it really kills performance and doesn't actually look any better. So a ray trace itself is when it says, all right, from this point forward, like let's say in engine, when you're developing, if you look down and there's, like in PUBG, you see objects around you that you can loot. Well, it does a ray trace from your eyes down to the objects around you and to detect what's there. I mean, that's what a ray trace is down to the core. Okay. But it's using that type of technology to determine, how to do the paths of light and everything else and simulate those effects in an engine. Hopefully that's not too roundabout of an answer, but.
Excellent. All right. Well, there you go. For people that want to watch the video, it's in our show notes on our website, which is infectionpodcast.com. Atlas, we've got the big update was a couple weeks ago, and we've got some changes here in the past couple days. I do want to note for listeners, starting at 1 a.m. Pacific time on tomorrow, April the 25th, they're going to be conducting their EU server maintenance. So they are going to take the servers offline temporarily. They're actually doing hardware upgrades. So either probably more memory, if I had to guess, would be about the only, probably more memory, maybe better GPUs. I don't know. But
I wonder if they're going to try to eventually increase the size of the worlds and use less servers overall. I wonder if they're kind of preparing for something like that.
Yeah, maybe they're maybe they're adding more RAM to a couple of servers to do whatever with. But that's going to be starting. There's no time. It just says they will be brought online.
Well, this is wild card time. That's the issue.
It'll be brought online soon after. Mm-hmm. So
how many weeks?
God only knows. But so that'll be happening tonight. If you're on the West Coast, tomorrow, they're doing it at a terrible time. 1 a.m. Pacific time will be 7 o'clock in the morning on the. No, I don't even know what time it'll be. I don't know.
So that'll be like 7 o'clock in the evening. But
no,
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening. It's like 7 hours ahead of me. So the UK is 7 hours ahead of me.
1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Okay, that's like in the
That's what I'm saying.
That's like 8 o'clock in the morning.
That is a terrible time. That's what I'm saying. It's a terrible time to do an update. But nevertheless,
I guess they don't want people playing that day.
Whatever. I don't make the schedules.
So. Okay, but one thing keep in mind. So Wildcard, they have one of their studios is over in Europe.
Yeah, but
so they're probably
true.
But they're probably dealing with. They're like, okay, well, we come into work at 7 o'clock in the morning, so that's where we're going to start working. They're working around their European schedule. It sounds like. So when the workday starts, they're going to take the servers down and they're going to deal with it. They're not working after hours, is what it sounds like to me.
Only 40 hours a week for the Atlas folks. You heard it here first.
That's why it takes 2 weeks to get the servers up.
Let's look at update 100.7. I'm not going to read through all this stuff. There's a whole lot in here, but a
lot of it's tweaks to settings.
Yes. So possible fix for tamed creatures falling through structures on server loads / overtime. Fixed creature spawnings when wandering out of spawn areas. Increased structure check on creature spawns to prevent them from spawning inside of bases on lawless servers. Huge issue.
Well, that's a big issue in Ark as well.
Yeah, you have an alpha Rex that spawns next to your base and kills you and everything you have.
Well, so a lot of people have been actually glitching through walls to get into bases
with animals,
and this has been a big complaint with Ark because certain types of creatures allow you to make kind of a platform thing off of them, and then you make this chair that's kind of ahead of the creature. They just then go, and I'm not telling people how to cheat. Don't take this as that. But then meshing, yeah, Nisco knows the term for it. You then push the creature into the wall, and then you log out, and so your character falls asleep. He drops to the ground inside of the base, and then he's able to log back in, and now he's inside your base. And it's been a huge issue for a long time. A lot of people are very upset about it, and a lot of people have actually quit playing because of it.
That's considered cheating, right? It's exploiting the game.
It's glitching.
Yeah, which is a type of cheat.
It's a form of cheating. Yeah.
Now, it's not like they're going to come to your house and arrest you, but I mean,
you're not using a special application to do it,
but it's still a cheat.
You are taking advantage of an unintended. But the thing is,
they're not banning.
Wildcard has done nothing. Yes, they are.
Well, I would be pissed if they banned me for that. They're incompetent.
But the thing is, they're not.
Their incompetence should not be the reason that I get banned.
Yeah, so that is part of the issue that people are upset about. Is they've been reporting it. People have been complaining about it. One streamer pointed it out. He did a YouTube video saying, and the whole thing was, Wildcard, fix this issue. I'm showing people the problem because I want you to fix it. And you know what they did to fix it? They banned him.
You know what they did? They set the maximum tax on PvP to 30%. That's how they solved this problem, as well as adjusted mythical shipyard crafting requirements so they can be crafted at the smithy, and a whole bunch of other modifications for 100.7. I'm trying to see if there's anything in here that talks about this. Bugs, ghost, summer. No, nothing really. I mean, there's just this is a whole lot of fixes on 1.8.
So one thing that they did add, so the treasure chests have Easter eggs and chickens, both wild and tame, that drop in them. So they did their Easter.
Yes.
Their 101.1 was some Easter things. So that was one of the, I guess, new content. Other than that, there's a lot of fixes, or well, a pretty decent amount of fixes.
There's a lot of fixes. Yeah. Fix some server crashing issues, some network optimization with character movements on ships. They've ended the Easter event. Fixed climbing picks, sometimes sending the player off into infinity. So various issues, they're working on it. And then we'll have current players up here in a couple minutes. But yeah, I am not, and this is one thing I know I've been steady on since we've started this show. I am not a fan, or I don't support this notion of, even if they're cheating, banning them using an exploit that, first of all, you're aware of, and second of all, is 100% your doing.
Yeah, that they have done nothing
always
to
rubbed me the
actually
wrong
fix.
way.
And that was part of the issue. Is this guy, he wasn't doing it because he wanted to cheat. He just wanted to bring attention to it, and he pretty much had a guy who knew how to do it and just explained it to him on a YouTube video. And he says, and the whole time through it, he's saying, "Fix this, Wildcard. Fix this. I'm not doing this because I want cheaters. I want you to realize it and fix it." And they banned him from the game. And he was one of the most popular, as far as the person bringing the most attention to Ark, one of the most popular streamers for Ark on YouTube. And then they banned him.
Oh, this is Ark, not Atlas you're talking about.
Sorry, that was Ark. That's
okay.
why you won't see it. There's probably a very similar issue, but I don't know that there's any dinos, or not dinos, there's any creatures in Atlas yet that have that kind of a feature.
Gotcha. To
really glitch into a base yet. So hopefully they've kind of learned, and they're actually just not putting that kind of a dino or that kind of a platform saddle on them and allowing the similar. But I mean, if you look in Ark, they could fix it instantly, but not allowing the chair anymore, or not allowing a chair to be built on a platform.
Well, clearly
that would fix the problem infinitely, but they don't care.
Well, it's not they don't care; it's that they don't want to do that, and there clearly is an issue causing them not to be able to fix it, and they don't know how to.
I mean, just remove the chair from being put on.
Well, yeah, but that is
a saddle on a platform.
That is the H1Z1 approach of vehicles are causing an issue. Remove the vehicle. I mean,
well, they should stop clipping through meshes at all. But the problem is that would take some code, and
But come on, Brian.
They probably just don't want to assign somebody
Brian,
to do it.
I'm not gonna. You're not gonna get that past me on this time. I will not for
No, I'm
1
saying
second
that
entertain. But come on, I'm not going to entertain the fact that the crazy development team that they've got over there, they've got one of the most successful survival games out there. You're telling me they don't have a single programmer that can just fix this and wave their...
It would take a lot of time. I mean,
well, then it's not just a snap a finger and fix. Yeah, I agree.
I never said it was a snap a finger.
Yeah, but I mean...
It would take some code to make it happen.
Yeah,
like
but
come on. You actually have to rewrite things.
When you say take some code, you're indicating like, oh,
no,
it's
make
just...
some code.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but you're indicating just slap something together. There's clearly something bigger with how they're either rendering the objects or how things collide that is causing this to be a problem.
Well,
it's not
part of it's the Unreal Engine, and they have to put in some things preventing certain things from interacting. They don't have total control because they're dealing with an engine. They don't have total control over every aspect of how the landscape mesh and everything works. Yeah. So the thing is it would take, that's what I'm saying, it would take some code for them to sit there and work around the issue, or maybe they know that Epic is going to fix this in a future update and they're not worried about it at the moment. I mean, it could be a number of reasons.
Do you know how long ago your whole thing was? Recent?
The video?
Yeah, the guy getting banned
within the last couple months. Yeah, like in the last month or two. But this problem has been going on for at least a year, to whenever they added the chair and the platform saddles.
Interesting.
Whenever they've been in the game, that's when they've been having this meshing issue since.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is something that I don't know. I mean, I understand the issue is difficult, but the problem is they're allowing the meshes to the player to push through world objects. The problem is you need to, so they'll have a bounding box around the dinosaur that doesn't let them get this close to a wall, right? Well, they're allowing an object to go on that dinosaur that goes past that point.
Yeah, but there's got to be a reason. That's the difference. For that. There's got to be some game.
There's not. There's not, though. The problem is they're creating an object that's allowed to extend farther than it should.
I refuse to believe that it is as simple as changing as what you just call a boundary box on an object. I refuse to believe.
Well, you could, but that would make it so the dinosaur couldn't get close to a wall.
Well, which is what I'm saying.
But you could create a collision box on the chair itself and not allow it to go through a wall.
True. I have a feeling.
I'm saying there is a fix. I don't know why they're not implementing.
Well, that would be the indication to me that there's probably a larger reason why they're not fixing it. I can't believe with all of the Brian, come on, you're telling me with all the experience and all the stuff they've got in that game, it is as simple as you're describing it, but they just haven't done it because they don't care.
The only way to do it right now is by placing a chair on a platform saddle and pushing it through the wall. Yeah. If they remove that chair, or don't allow you to place it in a certain aspect, don't allow it to go farther out than don't allow them to build platforms off of it and then place the chair on those ceiling pieces that they've pushed out in front of the dinosaur. That's the issue.
Yeah, so they just need to get rid of the object.
You know how on the platform saddle you can extend it?
I know exactly what you're describing. Yeah.
That's all they're doing, and you could prevent that.
Yeah, you just get rid of it.
Yeah, just don't allow them to place a chair. Of course, you could, because the issue is you have to be sitting in a chair to make it happen correctly. Just don't let people put chairs on platform saddles. There's no thing that is so important about having a chair on a platform saddle on a dinosaur. Those chairs are pretty much pointless anyways. They're purely cosmetic. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason for those chairs. You go and you sit on them.
True.
And so that's the aspect. That's what I mean by they could fix it instantly and it would have no effect on the overall game itself.
Okay.
But they don't. And I don't understand that. That's what doesn't make sense to me. Or they could go into code and assign somebody to it and do a lot of work and fix it as well. But they don't, they probably obviously don't find that as a priority and they don't want to spend, the time or money to do that, or else they probably would have.
Exactly. Yeah. They just don't want to spend the time. So that is Atlas. We'll cover current players, but they're chugging along, I guess is the word I'd use.
Still doing the Atlas stuff.
Yeah, doing their Atlas thing. Where do you want to cover anything else? Are you good? What are your thoughts?
Let's talk really quick about Rocket League. So we did play some Rocket League.
Okay.
If you want, you can play the video. It shows some of the season 10 rewards.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in Rocket League, This shows all of the new season 10 rewards that you can get. It's pretty quick. It just runs through them.
Yes,
it's probably just music because I don't think they ever add talking.
Okay. Well, hopefully this will work for me then. There's not even any audio on it, apparently. Yeah, there's not any audio on it at all. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know.
And this is an unlisted video, so it's just somebody showing it off. So there's a lot of the gold, the goal effects that they add in there. And these are things that you earn. And how they tend to work is that as you level up and get through the season pass, it builds upon the previous one. So it just becomes a fancier version of that. Is that that's all they had was the goal effect? Okay. And then on the website, they have some explanations of the rewards and things. But you saw as an example there, it starts out as kind of a basic goal effect. And then as you get closer to, I think, level 100 or whatever they go to,
yeah, I think
it then gets fancier and fancier and has more and more features. So they kind of encourage you, but they'll do that with vehicles. So they'll have a base vehicle that they then build upon. And if you get to the end, you have a really fancy version of that one, the goal effects and just all these different things they keep building upon them. So that's how they work.
All right. So. And then they've got a full Steam news post with all the information. And so you can check that out as well. So we didn't get to ROE. They did a couple of just regular patches.
Now they're one of the most consistent games as far as patches every week.
They are, but there's nothing in them. I mean, it's just they do a lot of patches, but there's never really a whole hell of a lot in there. It's just like, hey, we tweak this, tweak the reload times and the bullet damage and the pickup, and just, I mean, it's
they're just this is more of like a commit.
It's like a git commit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like we're just gonna put in our notes. Once in a while they will do a full write up of, for instance, go to the one for 420.
Oh,
which who knows why they did this, but they do actually have some content. So once in a while they will do a write up on, for instance, they're going to be adding the Pirate Carnival event.
Oh,
and you can see in there they have some special items. And this goes till May 3rd, so you can play for this, but you can get a special SUV appearance.
That's cool looking.
And just have a number of items that you can go through. They actually have a diver propulsion vehicle, so you can go underwater. A new mask and armor that you can put on. So they have a gameplay pirate ship. So on top of the typhoon weather, the pirate ship now also spawns under heavy rain and thunderstorm weather conditions, making the pirate ship more accessible. So they have this whole event that you can go through. They've added some new weapon skins to the store, and then they have some new characters which are pretty much skins of various characters you can use. So I mean, they do add stuff, but a lot of their in between these things are fixed a client stutter issue, fixed an issue where clients could not launch in some rare cases. I mean, it's a lot of those kinds of fixes, but they do put out a lot of content.
Change grenade cook time from 8 seconds to 6 seconds.
Oh, that sounds like that sounds familiar.
So yeah, there's ROE. They had an update. PlanetSide 2 is moving to DirectX 11, which I'm sure you're ecstatic about, Brian. I don't want no conjecture. I don't want to hear anything else. We're moving on. Fallout 76 had a patch. Rust did an Easter event. They've got a video. And then Ark, a couple patches, and then Scum has got a new comic out, and they have a patch as well. So
and Outlaws of the Old West for those that are playing that. I know Donnie was playing it quite a bit.
Have you played any since we first talked about it?
No, not really, because of the server. We got banned off the server we were playing on.
What did you do?
I don't know. Donnie, I think, said something to them, and then because some guy was like glitching or cheating through the base, and then, but it was a private server, kind of like a private community server, and I guess they knew the person, and so they just banned us.
So. Likely story.
Yeah, so that was that situation, and so we just haven't really played it that much since.
Yeah, man, boy, we go into Rust, we get banned. We go into Outlaws of the Old West, we get banned.
Hey, I logged out, so it wasn't even my fault.
Well, we didn't do anything wrong. We got Joshua's got to watch out. Next time we get our crew in Xera, he'll have to ban all of us too. We seem to get banned from all the games.
I'm like an extreme rule follower because I was like, oh, we've got too many people. I'm going to log out. And then we still get banned.
See, I told you, you would have been better off breaking the rule.
I should have just stayed in and played. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So that's all the news. And if you missed any of the news, or any if you want to check out any of the games that we talked about, all the links and all that stuff's on our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Got anything else before we jump into games that people are playing and the number of people that are currently playing them?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, then it is time for current players. Let's look at a couple games. Let's look at H1. Let's look at Z1 Battle Royale. I refuse to update their card. Yeah, 556. Boy, that's ripe and ready for Season 4. 556 people currently playing. The 24-hour peak, 1,978 with a 70
hire
peak.
Some extra developers for that one.
Yeah, for sure. And then a 70 peak of 2,448. Let's take a look at ARC's numbers. Currently playing 26,777. The 24-hour peak, 30,215. With the 7-day peak just shy of 50,000 at 49,956. Rust, real solid numbers. Currently playing 30,793. The 24-hour peak, 41,739. And 62,178 is your 7-day peak. Let's take a look at PUBG. Clearly, that audience is playing not in the US because there's only 134,000 people currently playing with a 24-hour peak of 717,339 and the 70 peak 839,486. And then finally, the ship that is sinking, Atlas. Even this patch, there's only 6,000 people playing. I think they'd want this number a lot higher. The 24-hour peak 8,862. 70 peak's not bad, 11,056, but this is down about 900 players from where we were last week. So,
yeah,
not I don't think that's where they want the numbers to be. If you I say only 6,000, like that's a small number, but this game is supposed to be 40,000 concurrent players on one server.
Yep,
and their 7-day peak is 12,000.
Well, they've created an environment that's almost impossible to allow single private servers to thrive.
Yes,
because it is so difficult to have anything that actually represents the whole game. With Arc, we can turn around and we run a cluster that has pretty much all of the regular DLC versions, plus it has we have one of the private maps as well, and we're able to run that a very similar experience to what you would have on the dedicated official servers.
Yeah, except no lagging.
They're all there.
Save.
Yeah, well, but they're all there.
Yes.
But when you turn around and you look at Atlas, it's almost impossible for a group, without putting a whole bunch of resources and having to deal with that whole mess, to create the similar experience to an official server. And Arc really lives on the private servers.
So does Rust. Hello.
Yeah, Rust does too. If there weren't private servers for Rust, it wouldn't be nearly as possible.
Nobody would be playing.
Popular as it is here now.
I mean, that one website I went to was hundreds and hundreds of pages of Rust servers.
Yeah.
Of just server after server after server, random rule sets, gather rates, harvest rates. It's just nuts.
But that takes so many resources off of the company, first of all.
Yeah.
Here,
Gary's
they're having to update their servers, and they're having to do all these things. They had to maintain a huge cluster of servers just to run that big of a grid. And if you don't have enough players, I mean, if you got 4,000 people playing it, that's a ghost town of a server when you have multiple clusters like that, allowing that many players.
Well, and unfortunately, because the game is an MMO, they don't really have a choice per se. I mean, the whole concept with this game was everybody can interact with everybody. There's no server list. You're not joining a specific server. And unfortunately, the only way that works is if you've got 25 to 30,000 concurrent players, and they just don't have it. Now, it is very possible that people come back. I don't know, but I guess it's possible. But
how many of those people are playing on private servers? We don't know how many of those are actually on official.
I don't think many are playing on a private server. That's got to get real old real quick. I mean, what do you have? 3 zones? It's a total of what, like 11 land masses? I mean, what the hell can you do?
Like on my little sample one, I've got pretty much a 2x2 square, and I have one that's like a 3x3 that I test on. So that's 9. That's 9 squares altogether, but you're going to struggle to be able to get much more than that running on a server without having multiple servers all connected together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just they just have not done well in making something, and possibly if they're going to start working on improving the performance, because that's something that is happening over time. That really happened with Arc over time. They improved the performance, and you can run Arc without it constantly stuttering and all the things that we had to deal with in the early days. And so if they can get Atlas to that, they could possibly increase the size of the map and do some things to where you get a closer to the original experience of a dedicated server on private servers. And then maybe people will kind of start growing back to that. But it's hard right now because it just feels like it's such a small space you're playing in.
Yeah.
In a private environment.
Yeah. That they've kind of thank you Tag for the 8-month resubscription. They've kind of backed themselves into a corner.
Yep. So they wanted to create something so unique and different that
hey, you got to try it, right? What are you going to do?
Yep. All right, so we ready for tip of the week?
Absolutely. What do you got?
All right, tip of the week, so we go through and either give a general gaming tip or one for a specific game. And since we played some Rocket League this past week, that'll be for tip of the week. All right. So one thing you learn that it's probably one of the hardest things to learn in Rocket League and really excel is the art of flying. And this is something I'm definitely not a pro at it, but you can see the difference between some of the much more advanced players and your beginner players because they have mastered the ability to fly. They do have a tutorial in Rocket League that if you try it, initially it just will frustrate the daylights out of you because it doesn't really teach you how to fly. They just say, all right, here's the ball you have to hit out of the air, figure it out. They don't give you any really good instructions. They don't give you anything that kind of takes you through the process. And it will just come down to you practicing it over and over and over again and doing kind of these dry runs of these drills, trying to make it work. But of course, you'll need to do that before because it's much more difficult to try to figure out flying in the middle of a match. And then you have many less opportunities to really have contact with the ball. And so there's no secret, there's no shortcut other than just getting in there and practicing it. So and the secret to flying is learning how to alternate the boosts and aiming the nose correctly. Now, you can say that, it's much harder to do on a controller in real time. So if you want to try it, go ahead and launch up Rocket League, go to the tutorial and start just practicing the boost. But also once you practice it a while, get into a real game and see if you're able to do it, because that's how you're going to actually improve, is pushing yourselves in those real situations. One of the first things I did with Laura when we started playing Rocket League was I went into a single just a match with just us, and I had her practice hitting the ball off the, at the very beginning and scoring from the center line just off the initial hit. And that was one of the, now she'll have it to where if we happen to get against a lazy team, we'll get quick scores off of that because she's learned how to do that. And that was one of the first things that we practiced over and over again. So there are some different things you can do, but if you're looking to really advance your game, I would go in there and just master the art of flying, because I think that'll be the one that you'll have the hardest time mastering, but it will be the most rewarding once you have done it. So that is tip of the week.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yes. All right. So we ready for a game giveaway here?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's go and close this and draw. And congratulations, Zarawi. Is it Zarawi? Zarawi?
Yeah, I think
there's two eyes on there, so I'm not sure.
That's my buddy Dave.
You have to ask him how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I ask him every
Zero-E
week.
Or Zero-I.
I think it's something. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know.
The extra I throws me off because it doesn't naturally pronounce. So, but anyways, congratulations. I will send you a message with a link to be able to redeem your code.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent.
So we are going to be playing Overwatch.
Yeah, really looking forward to that
coming week. So that's a lot of fun. Make sure you get in there, launch the battle.net launcher to make sure it updates and everything. This is your warning now. Firebomb, don't complain about your data plan. Start updating this week. And yeah, if you are interested in any other games being played, you can suggest them to us. Nick did mention, contact on our website, the contact form, or contact at infectionpodcast.com. We're always open to game suggestions, or if you want to host one, that's the ultimate thing that you can do, is say that you want to be a host for a game and teach people how to play maybe a game that people are generally not very good at, like Rust, for example.
Oh yeah,
if someone's really good at Rust, and all the tricks and tips, you could turn around and have a group of us go in there and teach us how to play Rust, because we were sitting there and we do have some people that do help some.
Yeah,
but
man, just for us throw all
building
of our,
that base.
Way to throw Musty and everybody else who's helping us and Ross.
No, but the thing is, when he logged off, and it was like we're just sitting there.
Yeah, we tried building that base.
That's just the craziest thing you've ever seen. But we ended up doing a good job. I think
nah, we got banned.
we did get banned in the end, but still, it ended up being pretty fun.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else we need to cover before we roll on out?
No, I think we're good. All
right. Remember that Gaia giveaway? And just one more time, if you tuned in partly through the show, Gaia is an enhanced version replacement for World Machine. So if you do game development, you know what that is. And we're doing a giveaway. And so if you go to, we'll have a link in the show notes, but I'm not going to give the address because it's kind of long.
Yeah, please don't be like a crappy infomercial.
Yeah, we'll do a link in the show notes.
We can tweet it out. We should tweet it out too.
We can tweet it out, and it has to where if you follow Quad Spinner, which is the development company that makes it, they're follow Twitter, visit their Facebook, subscribe to their YouTube channel, visit their website. Those give you entries into the raffle, and then my YouTube channel's Discord. You can join that. You can follow our Twitch, and then you'll get points for those. So this is an excellent piece of software if you do any kind of game development and kind of world design. It's really good.
Alrighty. We will be back on Tuesday next week.
Normal time.
Normal time. I'm done. No more traveling until I think PAX. So
cool.
So we should be good to go on a Tuesday. And then yeah, Overwatch Friday night. Hopefully you'll join us for that. Where can people find you on the interwebs, Brian?
All right. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com, and make sure you go to our website where we have on there all the different show notes that we've discussed today and for all previous episodes. We also have on there, yeah, that's my website. And we also have on there a Steam group where you can get notifications before the live show starts. We have a link to our Discord where you can click it and get added to our Discord channel. It works on mobile. It has a web-based client for your browser and also a nice desktop client. We have our YouTube channel, Twitch, and all the different audio forms that you could possibly want. So that's all on infectionpodcast.com.
Alrighty, Brian. Thank you as always for being flexible on the date.
Yep, no problem.
Always bailing me out. So thank you for that, and thanks to everybody for joining us live. We appreciate you making time for us on your Wednesday. Podcast listeners, we appreciate you too. Overwatch Friday night. Hopefully you'll join us, and then we'll be back here next Tuesday. Well, if you missed any part of the show, you want to check out some of the videos or images or things that we talked about, you can head on over to our website. It is infectionpodcast.com. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Thanks for joining us on a Wednesday. We'll see you next Tuesday, everybody. Have a good one.